You know, guys, it's stuff like what you're about to see right here that's got people wondering if maybe the Democrats as a whole are trying to sabotage their nominee.
The case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted and that doesn't happen.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Of course, there was more said in that little bit. And of course, that bit about it being a Trump ad is not exactly official. But of course, I figured I'd throw it in here to kind of spice up the video. But of course, you've got this Axios article that I'll link in the description box. That's a inside scoop on what's going on between the Harris-Biden camps, because apparently there's a civil war going on between the two. So with that little civil war going on between the two, we got to ask ourselves the question, how in the world did we get to this? And of course, is it Joe Biden who's actually sabotaging Kamala Harris, or is it something different, or is it just Kamala Harris herself just being an extremely god-awful candidate? Now, guys, this right is going to be kind of a long-winded video. There's going to be a lot discussed in this video, and hopefully I can get this done in a very, very concise period of time. But, of course, this was also the feature video of the day, meaning that it's coming out at 5 o'clock tonight. So make sure you guys stick around for the full bit. We got a lot to go through, and with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get to it. Now, guys, you're going to hear me infrequently talk about this book called Lucky. I've referenced it before, but stick with me to the end of the video because you'll see exactly why it was that I've decided to reference this book so many times, yet also so infrequently. So make sure you guys just bear with me. But first, make sure you guys also go ahead and cut the notifications on so that way you guys are notified when the videos come out. Also, to go on top of that, make sure you guys please hit the like button. If you guys are new here, please consider subscribing. I mean, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And obviously, it helps out with the algorithm. It helps make the channel much, much bigger. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into this. So, Kamala Harris yesterday, and I want to kind of lead with this first because it's kind of a... how do I say, maybe a bit of an idiom for what's really and truly going on, because I really truly believe that it's actually not just one person sabotaging the other. It's one person sabotaging their own campaign and another person, quite frankly, who's not exactly making their intentions unambiguous, because there's a lot of different ways that you can look at this. And I'm talking about Biden. Kamala Harris decides to give this spiel on Columbus Day of all days about Indigenous Peoples Day. Here's a small bit of it here.
Those explorers ushered in a wave of devastation for tribal nations, perpetrating violence, stealing land, and spreading disease. We must not shy away from this shameful past, and we must shed light on it and do everything we can to address the impact of the past on Native communities.
Now, I disagree with everything she said because there's a lot about Columbus that oftentimes gets forgotten about. There's a lot of misconceptions. And no, I'm not a Christopher Columbus fan. However, at the same time, though, I also do not regret this country existing. And I also know that the tribes that these people love to talk about being supposedly wiped out, they were already wiping themselves out long before Columbus even got here. By the way, there's also a lot more, like I said, that's left out of the story when it comes to Columbus because people love to assert their own narrative and agenda. I believe in being, 100% factual and fair when it comes to history. But of course, we do have people out there who want to serve some type of agenda or push one. This obviously was a stupid decision, especially given the fact that Harris is not exactly doing well in inner cities right now with certain minority groups. But then you get Italian Americans who, by the way, view Christopher Columbus as a type of god, no pun intended, not trying to be a jerk or anything, just simply saying that they love Christopher Columbus because Christopher Columbus was actually from Italy. He was actually, let's just say he's very, very popular in the Italian American community. Yes, his voyage came from Spain, but he himself was actually from Italy. But still, though, getting back on point. A lot of Italian Americans are going to be offended by that, which should go ahead and tell you right then and there, that the person who's really sabotaging her campaign is, in fact, Kamala Harris herself. As a matter of fact, she almost looked white while giving that. Just figure I'd point that out. Almost like a mochaccino or a cappuccino or something. I just figure I would say that. As a matter of fact, I might call her mocha going forward because there is the whole pun out there that she's really and truly nothing special. But of course, if we add mocha to her, then maybe she might be somewhat special. But still, though, at the same time, though, I'm pretty sure you guys can see what I'm saying, that it's not so much Biden who's sabotaging her campaign. It's really her, as you guys will see over the course of this video. So how in the world did we get here? Well, let's start with the current, and then we'll go back to the past. So like I said, it's going to be a long-winded video, but let's go ahead and get to it. So recently, Kamala Harris has gotten into it with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis over the hurricane. The other day on The View, she said this here.
It's going to be different than they've been before, and I know a lot of folks might think, I've been through this, I grew up here, I've seen it all, I'll be fine. This one is going to be different, and that's why I called the governor about what Florida has received in terms of impact. We have to have an agreement that at some point we all need to work together to combine resources, especially federal, state, and local resources around these kinds of disasters. And I think it's a shame that that hasn't happened, but look, it has at the local level.
And of course, during the middle of her little spiel on The View, where she also said that she did not regret anything that was passed during the Biden administration, also being the fact that she has casted a tie-breaking vote in all this legislation that's led to the current predicament that we're in, which also tells you that she's not that different from Biden. She's definitely somebody who will be used like a tool if the establishment gets their way. But of course, during said spiel on The View, Joe Biden actually cut her off with this here.
Florida has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs. I talked to him again yesterday, and I said, I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my personal phone number to call. So I don't know. There was a rough start in some places, but every governor from Florida to North Carolina has been fully cooperative and supportive and acknowledged what this team is doing.
I say cut her off because they obviously cut to Joe Biden, basically saying that the Florida governor has been cooperative. Now, let me say this real quick. As somebody who lives in a state that was recently hit by one of the hurricanes, the response from FEMA has been absolutely terrible. Terrible. I don't think I need to go through all the other crap going on with FEMA because, quite frankly, I don't think it matters for the purpose of this video, so let's stay back on topic. So she did that, and then, of course, the war with DeSantis would, in fact, continue. Now, before I get to DeSantis' response, I want to play this little piece first before we go any further because you guys will see that, obviously, this woman does not have the self-awareness to realize that she's been caught in a lie, and, of course, she has no way to be able to apologize because she refuses to apologize if you would just simply do this. It's not going to gain you any additional votes, but at least people would at least respect the fact that you admitted that you screwed up.
Should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now, and playing political games with this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
And, of course, DeSantis' response.
I've been in touch with both FEMA and the president, as well as marshaling all our state agencies and working to support our local communities. And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this. No. And here's the thing. She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the President of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local government. And I will say this. I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of an edge. She knows she's doing poorly, and so she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games.
These are what you call nitpicky, non-important fights. What you need to simply do as the vice president is just simply keep your mouth closed. Maybe go down to Florida. maybe, I don't know, maybe hand out water, help out, volunteer for a day, something like that there. Yeah, back in 2016, we had Hurricane Matthew hit this area, and Trump showed up. And of course, he was handing out toys, water, supply, and of course, it went on for a day. I mean, we don't expect the guy to actually stay here the entire time for the recovery effort, but at least he showed up. Biden, of course, has been slow, and of course, the current governor of North Carolina, where I live at, Roy Pooper, I call him Roy Pooper because he's a pooper, has not exactly been worth a damn on this issue either. And I'm pretty sure you guys can figure out why, because Western North Carolina is probably the most Trumpian portion of the state. Well, they also don't seem to understand or seem to realize is that Asheville, North Carolina is full of liberals who probably won't be able to vote either. So, yeah. You basically tried to sacrifice one voting base to probably try to prop up your own, but of course, you forget that most of Western North Carolina is getting its power back, and they'll probably still be able to vote. So, yeah, great job, Dems. The fact of the matter is this right. This was a completely pointless fight that she picked with DeSantis, and also it showed you exactly how dishonest she was and how it was that she would try to politicize anything and everything that she could just to get an additional vote. But, of course, it will ultimately cost her votes at the end of the day because when it comes to storms, stuff like that there, people oftentimes don't like seeing it get politicized. So what exactly is going on? Well, the other day, Newt Gingrich was on Fox News, and Newt has known Joe Biden for a very long time because they were in Congress for, well, Biden was in the Senate ever since 1973, and Newt Gingrich had been in Congress since the late 1970s. Of course, former Speaker of the House, probably saw Joe Biden every day in the Capitol building, probably had conversations with him, all type of stuff there. And of course, he had this right to say the other night.
The combination of President Obama's anger directed at young black men and Joe Biden directly contradicting Kamala Harris, not just in the clip you had, but remember earlier, for the first time in 4 years, he came into the briefing room and he said a whole series of things that undermined Kamala Harris's campaign. And I think part of the reason that on The View and in other sightings, she can't tell you anything different that she would do from Biden is she's afraid that if she makes him mad enough, that he'll go all out to defeat her. My personal hunch is that Jill and Joe have decided that their place in history will look bigger if he's the only person ever to defeat Trump. And I suspect also there's a certain resentment that people said he couldn't campaign, and look how badly she's campaigning. And I think it's sort of like payback time.
That's probably the main reason why it is that a lot of people jump back to Joe Biden in Pennsylvania and Shanksville. Of course, that guy who gave him the Trump hat, and why it is that Joe Biden actually never gave back the hat, as you guys will hear right here in a second. But a lot of people, of course, went ahead and jumped to conclusions and said that this right here is Dark Brandon going Dark MAGA. It could very, very well be the case, or it could be what Roger Stone said in that episode of the Unusual Suspects podcast, where he said that Joe Biden really and truly does believe that he is a great president. He really and truly believes that is the case, and he does not want Kamala Harris to stray away from Joe Biden's policies, which of course she tried to do, but of course she can't do that because she's the current sitting vice president, and therefore she also laid a lot of the tie-breaking votes in the Senate to get a lot of the disastrous policies passed that Biden has in fact passed. But still, though, back to that hat not being returned.
More to the story. I was struck by this sentence in the BBC, Emily. It said the daughter of the man who swapped hats with the president said Biden kept the Trump hat. After the interaction, she said that her father ended up getting another cap from the Trump campaign after they reached out. So he kept the hat? I mean, does he have it by his bedside in the White House?
I don't know. It's
So what's the deal? Do you guys remember back in 2019 what you guys are seeing here in the B-roll footage when Kamala Harris went viral for basically attacking Joe Biden, basically calling him a racist? Of course, she said that I'm not calling you a racist, but the whole busing thing. That night, Kamala Harris's name was like the top Democratic Party nominee that was searched, okay? She went viral. Of course, she had another moment involving Brett Kavanaugh, which people look back on now and they just say to themselves, my God, this woman really and truly is a nasty person. And of course, this moment, that of course happened on the debate stage, launched her. But she fell apart shortly afterwards. This woman had no staying power. Now, this next bit, this last part, I want you guys to pay very close attention to, because I think this right here at the end of the day is what the hell is really going on at the core.
On the moment when then Senator Kamala Harris attacked Joe Biden for his record on busing during the Democratic debates.
I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No,
do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well,
I
there
did
was
not
a
oppose.
failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a local.
Before I go any further, before we look at the rest of this, I want to go ahead and say this really quick before we go any further. This moment is the moment that kind of sort of got Kamala Harris launched. I think I might have mentioned that in the previous segment. But she also went down very fast after this because the more and more people looked at her, the nastier and nastier and nastier she appeared to the average person. I mean, there was even a moment at the end of her debate with Mike Pence where the topic of small children asking about the world today got brought up, and Mike Pence gave the common answer that you would give to a small child: not to worry about the issues that your parents are going through, not to worry about politics, to basically be a kid, enjoy your life as a child. And Kamala Harris is acting like this 8-year-old should get politically active. Whatever you can get for the vote, that right there is what the hell Kamala Harris is. Very, very scummy person. As Judge Joe Brown said, career prosecutors are the scummiest human beings on earth because all they care about is just the result, nothing else in between, or nothing else along the way. Which, of course, brings us to the rest of this bit from CNN.
That's where the federal government must step in.
According to the book, Biden leaned over to Pete Buttigieg at the podium to his right. They barely knew each other, but Biden was looking for someone to share the moment with. Well, he said, that was some effing BS. And Jill Biden, the future first lady, following suit by telling a group of supporters a week later, quote, with what he cares about, what he fights for, what he's committed to, you get up there and call him a racist without basis? Go F yourself.
Now, I've referenced the book Lucky, okay? I've referenced that book a lot here. I've referenced it some, but I've never really truly followed through on what exactly the book detailed. The book details that Joe Biden, at one point in time, and of course there's even an article that shows this, back in 2016, was going to offer the vice presidency if he ran to Elizabeth Warren. Barack Hussein Obama went to the donors in 2020, right before the pandemic, and tried to pitch Elizabeth Warren to the donors. The donors were not exactly okay with this, and they said, what about Biden? The donors selected Joe Biden because they didn't see a viable option for them going forward. It's one case where the donors actually outdid Obama rather than Obama outdoing the donors. Well, something else happened too. Biden committed to taking a woman as his VP. Then eventually it became woman of color. Kamala Harris was basically thrown on him. He was forced to take her. All right? BLM actually made him take her. BLM, Obama, basically everybody else. He basically got bullied into it. But the thing that struck me the oddest was that at the time, and I want you to think about this. Just think about this. At the time that Joe Biden basically endorsed Kamala Harris to be his replacement, he did this because he needed to transfer $30 million in campaign war chest money to her because she's the only person who could have access to it. Matter of fact, none of the other people, none of the other Democrats wanted her to be the nominee. Think about that. $30 million. Almost sounds like 30 pieces of silver if you think about Kamala Harris. Yeah, if you don't understand the reference, don't worry, I'll explain in the comment section. But still, though, at the same time, though, it seemed to me like these people were going out of their way to knife him in the back from the start because it looks to me like they couldn't bully Joe anymore. And that's probably the real reason why is that Joe has decided to entrench. But back to Harris. Joe Biden had a list of women, and Kamala Harris was at the very, very bottom of the list. But of course, the identity politics crowd with Obama and even donors forced him to take her. The fact of the matter is he never really and truly wanted her. Jill Biden absolutely hated her, didn't like her, even wanted him to take Pete Buttigieg. Even though having a gay white man on the ticket would have probably sank the ticket, but still at the same time, though, they didn't want her to begin with. The Bidens didn't anyways. They still don't want her. But of course, Joe Biden's also got his legacy to protect, which is not really much of a legacy. But still at the same time, though, I'm pretty sure you guys are kind of getting to where I'm going. Joe Biden feels like he's been bullied by the establishment, especially the Democratic Party establishment, the same Democratic Party establishment that did not have any faith in him to get them over in 2020. Once again, wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge, whatever you might want to say. Still, though, the point is this right here. Joe Biden is pissed off. Joe Biden does not like this woman. He never really and truly did. And while people make you think that they're getting along behind the scenes, just know that if it's always too good to be true, chances are it probably is too good to be true. What's happening in this case is that Joe Biden is entrenching himself behind the would-be legacy that he thought he had. And, of course, he's throwing her under the bus in the process. Now, it's also possible that Biden may be trying to say to the audience, look, Donald Trump's going to win this election. I've seen the internal polls. He's going to win it by a very, very big margin. Maybe you people might want to stop being delusional. Maybe you people might want to try to at least be civil with your Republican opponent. Maybe that right there is what he's trying to do, especially by getting out in front of Harris and saying, no, the governor of Florida has been very, very cooperative. The governor of Florida has not only been cooperative, he's been a joy to work with. Trump is not attacking me, and I'm not attacking him at this moment in time. Maybe we're trying to bring back some civility. Maybe that right there is what the hell is going on here. But still, at the same time, though, I'm pretty sure that what it really is Joe Biden saying, I never really and truly liked this woman. I never really and truly wanted this woman. This right here is the same woman who also joined in the coup to knife me in the back. And I even endorsed this woman and got her the $30 million to get her campaign started, not to mention a lot of other phony money got injected to that campaign afterwards. Basically, what Joe Biden is saying is that this right here is what the hell you give me. This right here is how you repay me for after all I've done for you. I didn't even want you. I think that right there is what the hell is really and truly going on here, is that Joe Biden is quite frankly pissed. And he's also angry, not just with her, but probably with Obama and every other Democrat that assisted in the knifing of him in the back. I want to give you guys one more little caveat before I close this video out. I said a while back that Joe Biden, realistically, was the only person who could actually still win against Trump. I didn't believe he was going to. I believe Trump was still going to destroy him, but I think that Biden could at least save the Democrats in the Senate. But here's something that needs to be said. In the article, in the Axios article, it's detailed by Ron Klain. Ron Klain is close with the Clintons. Ron Klain was inserted into the Biden administration shortly after Biden got in office, as well with Susan Rice. Ron Klain also, at the same time, was pretty much running Joe Biden's campaign. According to Ron Klain, he says something that I said back in the summer when the whole talk of replacing Biden came up for like the 100th time. He claims that what happened was they actually polled every single candidate, from Gavin Newsom to Gretchen Whitmer to even Josh Shapiro to, every Democrat you could think of outside of Michelle Obama. And they all said the same thing. All these people poll worse than Joe Biden, including Kamala Harris. Basically, the Biden campaign, the Biden team, the Biden aides are very, very resentful on how it was that they were completely ignored in the process and everything went straight to Harris. But of course, this is also the world of identity politics, and it's also the thing that will destroy the Democratic Party going forward. With that right there being said, guys, make sure you guys please leave a comment. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign off in the comments, and I'll see you guys later.